Hey, welcome to Tea Time with Bahamut. I keep
Hello.
forgetting our name. I'm Spiros. This is my co-host
Evangelia?
Evangelia
Elroy.
Elroy. Sorry. Excuse-moi. It's Evangelia Elroy. We are here with the second episode of Tea Time with Bahamut. I'm thinking of getting Final Fantasy Tea Time with Bahamut, just so that the title Final Fantasy appears somewhere, But maybe it's too big. I don't know. You
It's
guys
gonna
that you
be
will
too
hear, it's gonna be too big. I don't know. You guys that will hear the next episode, you will know what the title is.
We could do it in the description.
The description, of course, there's gonna be Final Fantasy in there, or as the tags, because can you imagine posting the podcast with Tea Time with Bahamut and no keywords for Final Fantasy in there? Nobody ever is gonna listen to this.
I could imagine a few people who would, but that's another thing.
So, we're back with a second episode, and Elroy, Evangelia, what are we going to discuss in this episode?
So we have a few themes that we could discuss about. One would be if we move on to the next game, but I mean, one is such a small game with so much potential, and it would be a shame to have it just one episode. I mean, thinking now that the next Final Fantasies will have at least 2 episodes just for the story and the plot. Yeah, it kind of sucks for Final Fantasy 1, so I would like to, milk it a little bit.
Get the juices out of it. Well, we still can. What scares me about this, not that I'm negative on doing that, doing another episode for Final Fantasy 1. What scares me in this is if we do 2 episodes for Final Fantasy 1, what is going to happen in Final Fantasy 7, in Final Fantasy 9, 10?
You have no idea. My sweet summer child, you're gonna love it.
We're gonna have to break Final Fantasy, not 7 because 7 made too many games sprung out of 7, but Final Fantasy 10 we're gonna have to make like 4 episodes just for the story.
Just for the story, and then some more just to connect it with the other games.
The theories, and then some more for the characters.
Oh yes. And then, and then about everything else, yes.
Let's not waste time. We had in mind to discuss maybe some theories. Evangelia is gonna help us with that. Maybe discuss some media that sprang out from Final Fantasy 1. One of those media is the Final Fantasy manga. Another media that I know of is the comic from, I think it's Nuclear Power, if I'm not mistaken. It's a comic relief comic that uses the Final Fantasy 1 sprites. 8-bit Theater, sorry, that's presented by 8-bit Theater. Final Fantasy, but no, I think the title.
And they do address the story. They do address things that happen.
Yes, of course.
The gameplay too.
They're more, they break the fourth wall on the gameplay and how the things happen that we don't question in the real Final Fantasy, in the real story. So, what do you want to start with?
Well, we can start with things that happened while the game came out. Like the manga, for example.
Which I think somebody saw the story. Somebody played Final Fantasy 1. Saw the story, and in contrast with what we were talking about last time, about the story and how it felt and things, she saw the holes that she could feel. She saw the potential that didn't exist and wanted to share his fantasies about the world of Final Fantasy 1.
I would also imagine that he saw those characters that actually had names and potentially a backstory that didn't exist because it was the first game, and said, you know what, those dudes are so powerful, why are they just having 4 strangers do everything? Of course, then he addresses the strangers too.
Where they came from?
Not exactly where they came from. He addresses the fact that the whole loop thing is because the original strangers that were the Warriors of Light, they were weak. They would always lose to Chaos. So this time, those that are actually named in the story, like yours truly, Bahamut, King of Dragons, together with
Captain Bike.
Captain Bike, yes, Captain Bike. I mean, come on, and Matoya. Matoya is actually a very big player in the whole story.
The robot. What was the name of the robot? Can't remember the name of the robot.
I don't remember it either, but it was so cute. So cute.
DB6. No, here I have it. I got the manga open in another browser.
And
so
only the main character was like a stranger
to the
but
world.
she was. Yes, and they were all average, and they were all from different timelines. That was the clue.
Yes, from the same possibilities of the world, but from different. I don't know if it was exactly
same
timelines.
world, different possibilities.
Different possibilities is a better explanation from timelines.
Yes, they existed. They knew each other in their own worlds, but they weren't those people. And they appeared in one last one that was in the loop. And they supposedly never had the loop in their own world.
I think it is addressed on the manga that they defeated Chaos. They had the possibility to defeat Chaos because they were outside from the loop.
Exactly.
They couldn't defeat Chaos from inside the loop. There had to come heroes from outside the loop. I'm sorry for my English again because I'm from Greece and I don't speak English very good. I'm trying.
And that would explain a lot why, for example, the strangers that appear in Final Fantasy, the game, are actually never named. They have almost nothing to do with anything else in this world.
Mm-hmm.
They're just passengers. It's nice that one completes the other.
We got 4 characters. Again, we got Puffy Tolte, I think it's pronounced, I'm not exactly sure. A girl from another possibility of Final Fantasy 1 world. Warrior, if I'm not mistaken. Warrior/paladin, something.
She's supposedly a warrior because she has the armor of the warrior. A sword.
Neat skills. Fleet Stewart, another guy from somewhere, we don't exactly know, I think. Matoya, which is a Matoya from a different possibility again, I think. It's not from the world of Final Fantasy, as we know it.
She's super cute.
The only one I think that is from the same world, from the 4 destined heroes, is Bahamut. This time.
Really?
I think. I'm not sure.
I don't remember that, but it's fine because it was a
because
weird
I think
manga.
they found him in the world, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, we got Garland. We have to have a villain. DB6, the robot, joins them. In contrast, that in the game the robot had 1% battery and died as he gave them the tube. Pirate Biche and Princess Sarah. Those are protagonists. The story begins somewhat the same as Final Fantasy 1. The world is in peril, the elements have gone haywire, the Luferians get attacked by Tiamat, if I'm not mistaken.
Ah yes, in the manga they address that. The Luferians are in the sky.
The first panel you see is the attack from 400 years ago to the Lufenians, to the Sky Fortress. To a sky ship,
it's like a city. It's like a ship city, a floating city.
Where we see a sage kind of guy that gives the tube again to the robot and tells him that you have all the memory, you have the warp tube, go down there, find heroes, help us. Tell them what happened. And somehow, do you know who brings the heroes to the world?
Wasn't it Lucan and the sages?
They brought I can't exactly remember. I think they brought
Lucan and the sages that did the whole thing with the summoning.
It was proper isekai manga.
Yes. They actually summoned the heroes.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. They summoned the heroes, and they just appeared in Cornelia. And I think Sarah was already kidnapped from Garland.
Yes.
So the beginning of the story is pretty much the same as Final Fantasy 1.
And it just schemes around the story, or at least the one we see on the internet, is flashing really quickly. It doesn't go very much in depth, but it does show a lot of things. It doesn't. It just. I think the mangaka wanted to just address the fact that they were strangers.
Yes, and nobody knew about each other. It was pretty much like the game. 4 heroes appear in Cornelia. King sees them. Please save my daughter. I have no other that can help you. You are the light, the warriors of light. Go defeat Garland. Bring back my daughter. And as you said, the first chapter, I think it's like 40 pages, which in a manga I think it's like nothing. And like 10 of them is the fight with Garland. It's the panels with the fight with Garland, where you can actually see that they backstab them at some point, and he starts coughing blood and thinking, no, it's not over. Do you think that you can defeat me like that? And she disappears in the Orb of Chaos.
And yes, that's... but it's beautiful how the heroes are strangers, yet very, very knowledgeable about the world, because it is their world, just different.
I think the protagonist says at the panel that I had a Matoya on my time, and I knew her. It was a patron in a tavern, and she came and drank with us.
And I was just going to her because right before I disappeared and came here, and I had a person like you in my world, but who are you? So
the first chapter is pretty much the beginning of the story. It's to the point that they appear in the world, to the point that they defeat Garland. The manga starts changing from chapter 2. The first thing I think that the chapter 2 begins is they meet Lucan and starts telling them about the Levistone. She actually gives them a Levistone.
He gives them the Levistone. Next panel, they just have the airship.
They just have the airship. The airship this time is not an medieval airship.
It's like the lunar whale.
It's like the lunar whale. You can see it's a technological airship this time. It's a spaceship.
A Lufinian. It addresses the Lufinian technology, which is very nice.
Somehow in this medieval world you have a spaceship. I don't know if some viewers have seen Captain Harlock or maybe some Star Trek or something. It's a proper spaceship that was buried in sand.
And it's amazing because they do say, I mean, they have a floating city. Why do they have a medieval airship? It's a proper spaceship.
It's a proper spaceship. Then somehow, again, they know how to drive it.
Of course they do.
But it's been 400 years since the Lufinians. No. We know how to drive it. Don't get stuck on details. And the first thing they do, they go to defeat...
it's panel after panel of defeating the fiends.
Yes,
actually.
not Lamnia, Marilith.
Marilith.
The first thing they defeat it's Marilith. And it's what, as you said, I was reading the manga and I thought that what happened?
It was skipping things.
It's like it's missing pages. How did we go from the airship to Marilith to Mount Gulg? And from
and then
Mount
next
Gulg
panel it's the Kraken and next panel.
So they start defeating the Finns one by one. The Finns this time talk and give them some informations that you think you can stop this by defeating me. You still have to defeat 3 more. And each one is tougher than the next one. And
they, for some reason now, they have the Rosetta Stone. They just have it. They find it and they say, yeah, that's the thing. And I will take it to that guy. I know that guy. And they just do. They go to Lithuania.
They just do stuff. Sorry, I skipped a chapter. The second chapter talks about the sages that we summoned you here. My bad, I skipped a chapter. But it keeps going.
But still, it's so quick.
Here, we summon you. Go, fight. They meet Captain Biche. They save Captain Biche from... this time, Captain Biche tells his lackeys that, you know something, I'm tired, I don't want to be a pirate anymore.
And the lackeys attack.
And the lackeys attack Biche. And the heroes save Biche, and Biche is like, guys, you're cool. Let me... I will call you boss right now, and I will follow you everywhere you go. You saved my life.
You want my ship? Here's my ship.
But it's awesome. It's what I feel in this manga. It's that as the previous world of Final Fantasy, as the previous from the world from the game, there's no hope again in this world. Nobody can go defeat Garland. Nobody can. Biche is all alone in this world. The dwarves are secluded from the rest of the world. And here comes 4 heroes that start uniting people. They save Biche. Biche follows them. They help the dwarves. They help. What's the sage's name?
Lucan.
They help Lucan, and they start bringing hope to the world. I think that's the de facto point of the game and the story. That the Warriors of Light are not some magic beasts that came to a world with awesome powers and zapped the enemies away. They're simple guys and girls, that bring hope to the world. And as they bring hope to the world, they unite the people.
And that is awesome, because they are strong just because they are from a different possibility. And I think in the end, they just go back.
To their world.
Yeah.
To their possibility of a world.
Yep, they just go back.
Without remembering again. They don't even know that they united a world, that they defeated a loop, that
it was like a dream or something.
But it's Final Fantasy. That's what Final Fantasy is. Most of the games, they focus on a theme. Final Fantasy X focuses on self-sacrifice and love. Final Fantasy VII...
And religion.
And religion, heavily on that. Final Fantasy VII focuses on, protect the world, protect...
industrialism, corporations, and saving the world that is already
we have
dying.
One planet protected from eco-terrorism.
And actually they do lose in the end, right? If I remember correctly.
Debatable. 500 years on the future.
Soon to be an episode for that.
Soon to be an episode. So, an awesome manga. Chapter 2, they defeat the elites. Chapter 3, they defeat Marlith. They get the airship. Chapter 4, they meet Bahamut. And Bahamut, for some reason, doesn't fly. She has his wings down. She walks on 2 feet. They go to the Sky Fortress. And they defeat the Apocalypse weapon, the Doom's weapon of the Luthanians. And she grabs the Warmech. And she grabs the missile lancer from the Warmech. And she's like, wow, that's an awesome gun. Let's use it.
Yes, I'm gonna have forgotten about that. That was so cool.
And the strangest thing is that Bahamut uses it. She's a dragon. His claws can kill anything.
Excuse me. Dragons have the right to have a gun. Or a huge missile if they want to. A rocket launcher, if you will.
And Bahamut just goes around with his rocket launcher at hand. Wow, and also, hold back, I will shoot him. And Matoya is the crazy lunatic black mage.
Yes. And she's awesome because she has chaotic magic. And sometimes she wants to do one thing and comes out another. Fun fact, just like D&D sorcerers. With wild magic.
With wild magic. And most of the time she just doesn't want to use it. But when she speaks, back, I will defeat him alone. Thundaga.
And she's so small, and then she's so scary because she does this. It's like out of the blue.
They meet the robot DB6, which helps them with defeating the Doom's weapon. She tells them about their weaknesses. She helps them put the Sky Fortress in operation.
Yeah, I think he just tells them about the knowledge, how to operate things and what their objective is while they're in the Flying Fortress.
we see much more of the machinery in the Sky Fortress.
Yes, which is awesome.
It's a legit Sky Fortress. It's like we don't even now have that technology. We have to be like 1,000 years in the future to have that kind of technology.
We have to be Star Trek.
That the Lufinians had.
Yeah.
The stakes are real in the manga. They seem to be fighting hard battles that they barely win.
Sometimes they win out of luck. Sometimes they win because they have a Hail Mary. Just like, sometimes Matoya will say, you know what, I have a final spell. Let's do it. Let's try. And she defeats the enemy.
And sometimes they win it because they have a rocket launcher.
Exactly.
And the Bahamut holding a rocket launcher.
And for some reason he presses the right button.
And after the Sky Fortress, they know that they have to go to, again, the Chaos Orb, which this time is activated, and go back 2,000 years to the past.
Yeah.
And they know that they can't defeat. This time...
They were not supposed to defeat Chaos.
The Chaos Orb this time is not unprotected. There are Finns. There are many, many Finns around. Not Finns, monsters around the orb. And that is where the message of hope comes, because the heroes tell Biche, go, save yourself. Don't come with us. You're gonna die if you come with us. Not even us, we know that if we're gonna live here. And Biche doesn't leave. She leaves, but she goes to the people that the Warriors of Light helped. She goes to Cornelia, she goes to the dwarves, she goes to the elves. And she makes a speech, a great speech, an awesome speech. And she gathers all the people that the Warriors of Light helped. And when the Warriors of Light are in their worst time and they're trying to get through many monsters to go to the Orb of Chaos so they can travel back to the past, suddenly an army appears behind them. The army of the people that they have
all
helped.
The people, yeah. It's beautiful.
Fairies, giants, dwarfs, dragons, and it's an awesome battle.
It's poetic because the help that they have done, what they gave, they took back. And because people not only had hope, but now they had strength. And they thought that if it's just one more push to help them, then we'll do it.
Help them, help ourselves, and help save our world, the world that we live in.
The impact they had in the world.
That final push is successful. The heroes go through the Chaos Orb. They find Garland, which transforms into Chaos after he tells them about the loop. It's a tough fight. It's a difficult fight. And they, as you said before, they win by their, what's the expression? By their teeth of their, I can't remember the expression, but it was a close call. It was a very close call.
It was a really close call.
But they defeat Garland. The loop breaks. And again, the heroes are returned to their world of possibility outside the main world of Final Fantasy I, with no knowledge of what they have done. And the world of Final Fantasy again is saved.
And it was beautiful. Beautiful.
It was an awesome manga. It was a beautiful depiction of someone's fantasy of how they saw the world when they played the game. A game that had many plot holes.
It didn't explain. It wasn't much of a plot. It wasn't a plot hole.
And the manga ends again with pretty much the same words as the Final Fantasy ends. It is still felt. It is still felt in people's hearts, but only as a fairy tale.
Only a little bit more story, just a little bit of detail in what a player experiences. Just a little bit more of action and immersion.
And maybe what a player should have experienced. Because
something like that.
the fact that the world of the manga joined in the final fight, it was something that was missing from Final Fantasy 1.
Which, if I am allowed to say that, they use it kinda in Final Fantasy X with the big prayer.
Yes.
It's and then after the Final Fantasy manga, nobody heard about Final Fantasy 1 much before the Origins, where they put more graphics, they put more stuff inside. So the fantasy aspect grew. And I think after that, people were, with every new console that had Final Fantasy 1, people were having more nostalgia, and they were playing the game again and again. And I think this sprouted up more stories to tell about the world. For example, the extra dungeons that happened in the port of Game Boy Advance and PSP, for example, and how you see other bosses from other Final Fantasy games inside. Of course, this can be explained as, fan service, but it is in the world of Final Fantasy 1. Then you have Dissidia, and Dissidia, even though I could not get myself to see each and every character's story, I saw and read each and every, because, oh my god, the texts, so many texts. TLDR, yeah, TLDR, apparently, it's the world of the first game. Apparently, one of the possible worlds of the first game. The character you see as the Warrior of Light in the first video that happens in Final Fantasy Origins, the first FMV video that in PlayStation 1, he's actually Cid, for example, Elfinian. That's why he has the silver hair, and that's why he's so grandeur and everything.
In an airship.
In an airship. And the woman that is gathering and summoning heroes from another world, so that possible worlds of her world, to fight the darkness. And in the end, when the story ends, the Warrior of Light is just in front of Cornelia Castle, and it's amazing. Then you see that woman, she's supposedly Chaos's mother, and the wife of Cid, the Lufinian. And they have many stories inside. They did it in a lot of text, which is so tiring when you considering the whole action-based Dissidia beat-em-up game.
With voice acting.
With voice acting and everything. And then you just see text for the backstory, and you're like, really? I have to pause everything that I'm feeling right now so that I have to read the backstory? Not even have it narrated or anything? I mean, even narration at this point would be a bit better. But anyway, apparently, half of the world was at war, because war, humans is the war. And apparently the orbs, the crystals, were like heavy weapons, like nuclear type style weapons. And Chaos was, there was a Chaos orb and a light orb. One in the sky, one on Earth. And apparently Chaos was a big old experiment. He was an experiment like Sephiroth in Final Fantasy VII. And the only thing keeping him sane was his family, which was destroyed because they needed him to be a weapon, and his family would not let him. And that is why he became Chaos as we know him, because he was quite enraged by what happened to his family. Exactly. It was a Sephiroth story, which is so weird, but understandable, I guess. Then there is the Strangers in Paradise game, TLDR.
Haven't played that.
Yeah, me neither. So yeah, there's also this Strangers in Paradise, which I haven't played.
Me neither.
And apparently, TLDR, it's the story of the four fiends plus chaos this time. It's a backstory of the fiends and chaos, which were the warriors of light. With plot twist, sent by the Lufanians. And the Lufanians had made the loop, which was not a loop per se, it was a reset on the world. Every time.
Okay.
And every time the warriors would forget who they are, and every time they would try to defeat Chaos, who apparently didn't exist. He was more like of an idea of a darkness, like the Cloud of Darkness in Final Fantasy III or something.
Okay.
And in the end, they apparently had this great master plan. One day they realized what was happening with the Lufinians and the world and etc. And they realized that they had to fight back. And in order to do so, they had to be themselves the monsters. And they had this grand master plan, but they would forget everything. It's reset. So they had to have someone who would remember. He would tell them. And that was apparently the Dark Elf. Astos, yes. I always forget the freaking name.
So, I guess we'll have a lot to talk about when we play Strangers Paradise.
Yes, and of course it's a huge world, it's alright, and you see everything in amazingly different way and perspective.
Or the missing lore from Final Fantasy 1.
The missing world, it's huge. It's quite beautiful. Quite beautiful. But that is, when it comes, Final Fantasy 1 is in its simplicity, has created so many games and stories, and each port that has something more from the original game means that it is open for that. Like a true D&D campaign.
It spawned the Mecha Beast of the Final Fantasy world. Okay, it hasn't. The story is not the same in the next Final Fantasies.
Of course.
A lot of stuff are not the same, but in most of them, the crystals exist. The Muggles that came later, of course. Chocobos, Sid, airships, the warrior, the jobs, the warriors of light.
Also,
not in all of them, but
Sid was not mentioned in the first game.
True.
He was mentioned in a later port to connect the name again with the airship that was a staple.
Because at that point, Sid it was a de facto name for Final Fantasies, like Biggs, like Wedge. As Final Fantasy 1 didn't have Chocobos, didn't have Muggles.
Yep.
But it had fairies, it had mermaids that don't appear in next Final Fantasies. It was an experimental game. They didn't know that there were gonna be born like 17 games from that simple game. That simple game with no stories. A simple game with no plot hooks, with a simple story, with holes in the story, with not so much lore.
You just go to a dungeon and save the world.
And yet, that game spawned a myriad of games. And it also spawned, as we were talking earlier, the 8-bit theater comic. I'm not sure who wrote the comic.
Genius.
It's on nuclearpower.com. Also, the manga, you can find it at mangadex.org. I will try to post the link on the description of the episode. The next comic, the 8-bit theater, is on nuclearpower.com. And it's a simple comic, again, that uses the sprites of the game. The thief, the dark mage, the warrior, the red mage, the white mage. And it's a comic relief for the main game. It's not so serious about itself. It's okay, we're out of money, what are we gonna do? There's a there's a job offering for the Warriors of Light. What is the Warrior of Light? I have no idea, but let's go. We will make it up as we go.
I think that YouTube series, that YouTube video, Final Fantasy in a Nutshell, might have been inspired by that.
By the 8-bit. Yes, it was an awesome. The Black Mages. It was a chaos derived lunatic person that has it has only their personal gain in their mind. The warrior is a stupid, dumb person that only cares about swords.
Just a brute.
If you talk to them, she knows everything about swords. But just swords, nothing else. The thief that this time was coded right, knows how to steal, and it steals everything. They go into the castle, and the castle was made like from gold-plated bricks or something. And as they go down the corridor, you can see in the comic panel that the half of the wall is darkened. The gold-plated seats are gone, and the other half of the and the other half of the corridor, the thief hasn't. It's just that the thief still hasn't passed from there. The black mage hits on the white mage. The white mage, every time that black mage hits on her, hits him with a giant hammer. and the black mage is more hooked on the white mage.
Because of course she's just playing hard to get.
And the most awesome thing, at least for the first pages of the comic, is that they quote the king. The king says, the king's wife says, "And how do we know that those guys that come for the job are the warriors of light?" I was thinking that let's send everyone that comes. And those that survive from the ordeal are the warriors of the light. But that it's like genocide, work, pretty much the same stuff. And
amazing.
The party arrives in front of the king and says, no. In the front desk of the throne room. What is that a warrior of light exactly? As they were asking for the job description. Oh, you have the orbs. Don't you have the orbs? Orbs? What orbs? The orbs, the crystals of the light. You are the warriors of light, so you should have some orbs. Be right back, the black mage. and she finds some bulbs, some light bulbs that were lighting the corridor, and he unscrews them and goes, yes, those orbs. And he goes to the king, do you have the orbs? Because you are the warriors of light.
Yeah,
yes,
here
of course
they are.
Here they are. They're warm. They're
pulsing with light.
They're pulsing with the warmth of the light of the warriors of light. Yes, they're warm. You're right.
Oh, indeed. Yes, I knew that.
It's an awesome comic. If you have time, go read it. It's the funniest take. The funniest one. I wish I had that kind of party.
It's like if Final Fantasy 1 was an actual D&D campaign.
Played by the real people.
Played by the people that usually play D&D.
The murder hobo.
Exactly.
Black mage.
the kleptomaniac. The lunatic magician that always wants to set things on fire.
And as Evangelia said, if you're bored to go read, because it has, let me see, it has around 1,200 pages. It's kind of a lot. If you don't have time for that, and you should make time for that, there is the video that you spoke earlier.
Yeah,
the Final Fantasy 1 in a nutshell.
Yeah,
it's like
he's made the whole series actually.
The first one, it's like 3-4 minutes of
the
game.
It's not long.
Because Final Fantasy 1 is small.
It is too small, but it does address everything that the players experience in a very, very funny way.
Let's use the canoe. Let's go to the other side. I'm tired. Let's sleep in the canoe. What do you mean sleep? Let's put a tent on the canoe. How are we gonna do that? We won't fit.
Like that.
And the next panel is everyone stuffed on top of each other. Awesome. The people that played Final Fantasy, I'm gonna say it. I don't know if I said it in the previous episode. I'm gonna say it now. The community of Final Fantasy games is awesome. It's an unbelievable community.
They know humor. They really do.
And they know humor.
They're funny. They're very supportive most of the times.
They connect through music.
Yeah.
The connection through music, it's unbelievable. I felt that in the distant world. You probably did too.
Yes, I did.
It's an awesome connection. And
people were legit crying. together.
I was crying very much.
Yeah, me too.
And of course the connection through the story and the characters. In every played in both Final Fantasy XI and Final Fantasy XIV MMOs, and every time the community in there was just, let me help you with that, let me explain you that, let me show you an awesome thing inside the game.
Yeah, it's so weird. It never happened in any other MMO. Maybe it maybe happened in the early days of Warcraft, but still not that much as what I've heard for Final Fantasy.
The Final Fantasy XI community that was playing, which was like, hey dude, what's up, how are you, how's the family, how's the baby, did you go there, did you reach level 12, did you finish the mission, did you do your dailies today, let me help you do them, let me get out of my way, lose an hour of my life to help you go through that quest. It's an awesome feeling, I can't describe it.
It's so immersive because in the end you are truly living in that world that way, because you are a dude in that game and there is another dude in that game. You are living as adventurers in that game. It's amazing because adventurers do have lives in their respective worlds. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Very busy lives, unfortunately. I can't play enough Final Fantasy.
Yeah, that truly sucks. But here's to wishing for better times.
So, those are the media that... Sorry?
No, go on.
Those are the media that at least we know from Final Fantasy 1. The manga, the comic, the video from Nutshell. So, let's talk about a little about us. How did you start playing Final Fantasy? Final Fantasy in general.
I started playing when 8 came out. I was aware of it when 7 was out, but I played Final Fantasy 8 as my first Final Fantasy. And when that intro video hit, I just went backwards. I was in awe. Yeah, that when the choir just started singing, I was like, what is this amazing poetry and music I am hearing? What is this amazing world? And then the flowers and the wings and the characters and everything. I was like, what is going on in here? This is amazing. Mind you, I was like 10 maybe.
It had an awesome.
It was amazing. I didn't even know enough English to go through the tutorial of junctioning system, and because
the junctioning system.
Yeah, because to understand the junctioning system, you have to know a little bit of English. And I was 10. I did know a little bit of English, but I didn't know enough to understand the tutorial. So I was just winging it. How I reached the third disc, I have no idea.
Thank God for the optimize option.
Yeah, that helped a lot. Of course, I couldn't finish it because I wasn't that well versed in such a complicated Final Fantasy, because it is complicated. For a Final Fantasy, it's one of the most complicated Final Fantasy games. The systems are complicated. The replayability is there. If you want to be a completionist, good luck with that. And the story, the story. So many things happening all at once, and you have just like Final Fantasy 1, you have no idea how you got there, you have no idea why, you have no idea what's going on with the world. Nobody knows what's going on, and everyone is...
There's a lot of stuff going on, they're explaining the thing that it's right in front of you, but you can't connect the dots. How does this fit on the next thing?
Actually, they do talk about it, but you have to be exploring all the time.
Everything.
Talking to everyone.
You have to explore everything.
And talking to freaking everyone. And you're talking to everyone every single time you pass a boss or a mini boss. Because each and every time the story progresses, even a little bit, the world changes, literally. People are talking about it. People are just spreading the word. They're saying like the rebellion is doing this, the rebellion is doing that now. What happened there when you were there? I saw it on TV. Stuff happens.
It's sort of overwhelming for a child of 10 years old.
Yeah.
And without the first language that she speaks being English.
But it did get me hooked.
The graphics were awesome.
It did get me hooked. Final Fantasy IX was the first Final Fantasy I actually finished. And that was around the time I also played Origins, which I gently put aside after I lost immediately after opening it a few times because I didn't know what I was doing. Anyway, that was my introduction in Final Fantasy. What about yours?
What's mine? My introduction in Final Fantasy was at 1996, if I remember correctly. We just bought our first PlayStation 1. We had a Nintendo before that, but I had no idea that there was a Final Fantasy that was existing. I had no idea that there was a game called Final Fantasy. But
Nobody was playing it.
I was in luck because the PlayStation 1 I bought, our father bought for us, of course, for a family of 3 boys, had 2 games as a gift. The first game was Crash Bandicoot 3.
Great game.
1996. Crash Bandicoot, the first one. I think it was the first Crash Bandicoot. And the second game was Final Fantasy 7.
Damn.
The most awesome Final Fantasy. And
damn.
Just like you, I was around... It was like, what, 10, 12, 11, 12, somewhere there.
In 96? We're the same age.
88.
If it was 98, which is the correct time that we would have Final Fantasy 7, you were 7 to 8 years old.
When it was released in Greece? Perhaps you're right, 98.
But Final Fantasy 8 came out in 1999, and it was around the time that I was playing actually a lot of games in PlayStation 1.
99. Final Fantasy 8 with 7 had 1 year.
1 year apart. And Final Fantasy 9 came out about the same time with Final Fantasy 8.
Then you're correct, it was 1998. It was around it was the first year that PlayStation 1 came to Greece, I think.
Maybe. I don't remember.
Because it was still the promotion that get the console, take a free game and stuff like that.
Yes.
So first game was Crash Bandicoot, second game Final Fantasy 7. I was 9 years old.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Barely knowing English. Barely knowing what fantasy is.
9 to 10, yes, I was around that age.
And you were in a family of 3 boys.
3 boys, and we opened the game, we opened the PlayStation 1, and we start with Final Fantasy disc, the Final Fantasy disc. We input it, and as you know, Final Fantasy 7 has a big intro. An intro that is very slow, that is very strange.
And the models, oh my god.
Very strange, and it was like, okay, my brothers were like, maybe that's not the game we want to play, and immediately turn off the PlayStation and change disc to Crash Bandicoot. So we played Crash Bandicoot for like the next 5 to 10 hours. But when they left me alone, I was curious. I was like, what was that intro? What was that game that was saying? So
it was haunting.
It was haunting. I inserted the disc alone and started watching. And I was like, okay, that looks interesting. Iris comes into focus.
Yeah.
Who's that girl? What's happening? What's that music behind it? And suddenly the train came into perspective.
Yeah, the train.
And Midgar, as the camera was going back and was showing Midgar, and
Final Fantasy.
And the title Final Fantasy 7. What the hell?
With the music.
Game?
Oh my god, yes.
And I barely knew English, barely started to understand English, and I didn't make it far. I made it like in a long period of time, maybe a year or a little less than a year, because Final Fantasy VIII hadn't came out yet. I reached to Sephiroth somehow. I reached to the final boss. but I had never defeated it at that point. And the heartbreaking thing was that we were a poor family, and we learned that you can hack your PlayStation 1. But no money to hack that PlayStation 1. What did we do? We sold Final Fantasy VII and Crash Bandicoot to be able to hack the PlayStation 1.
No, you didn't hack it. No. You customized it. You customized it. No. We do not support...
Quote unquote, we do not support... No quote. We do not support hacking.
We do not support hacking or cracking or any modifications for that matter on original
or emulators.
Consoles. Or emulators. Yeah, piracy is bad, people. Don't ever do it.
I can prove it. I have every game in Steam. I have every game that I have bought in PlayStation 5 right now. It's a legit game.
Every Final Fantasy fan from our generation and maybe the previous one too. I think those two generations that experienced Final Fantasy, they are buying each and every port. And each and every time they might be satisfied or dissatisfied and then again take the next port because they really want it and they really want to experience it again because every time it's like a shiny new game, even though it's not.
It's like a new story, even though it's not.
Even though it's not. You have to understand my disappointment when I saw the first Final Fantasy in Android. I will talk about it again. Yes, I'll talk about it again because really this traumatized me. I opened the game. They say it's the PSP port. And I'm saying, hooray, it's amazing if it's the PSP port because it has all the dungeons plus a new one and it's amazing and the graphics are great. And suddenly, it's not. And when did you know it? That was reserved for the Apple store. The Android store had a nerfed version with nothing. No extra dungeon. Not even the ones in GBA. No. Nothing. Nada. It was empty, hollow. Nothing. The Steam version also was like that. And it was so disappointing. I gave so much money in that game. Just for that. Of course I played it like 5 times. Of course.
That was my question. Tell the truth that you played and finished Final Fantasy.
I played it and finished it with every possible combination of Warriors of Light. Of course I did. I mean, what did you take me for?
No extra dungeons.
But no extra dungeons. The disappointment was so great. And which reminds me, every time I play the Final Fantasy, there are a few elements that I'm always thinking, why is Final Fantasy so inspiring and why does it always resonate? And then one day it hit me. All the myths are there inside this Final Fantasy. Why doesn't it feel like a Dungeons & Dragons even though it's pretty much a Dungeons & Dragons game?
At least the first games.
I'm talking about the very first. It's because it has all the elements from mythology. The castle in the sky, the great dragon in the mysterious islands that are somewhere, the mermaids in a lost civilization, elves that are mystical yet so everyday people. I'm not talking much about the dwarves, I'm not talking much about the races. I'm talking mostly about the elements of what happens with civilization, like the lost civilization deep underwater, which is the reminder of Atlantis. The castle in the sky that was a main theme even in Studio Ghibli movies. It's also a theme in mythology. We do have castles and civilizations in the sky with very advanced technologies in our mythology. We do have that. The mysterious ancient language, the ancient mysterious races, which were probably our ancestors, that are talking in mysterious languages and they knew so much about the world. Or maybe the fiends of the world, which were our very own mythological demons that would affect our environment.
Not only, at least for me, not only that, not the mythological part of the game, which was awesome. As you said, you could live the myths that you know, that you were taught as a child, you could see them in a world. For me, it was part of the game was the what we talked earlier in the episode, the unification of the world.
How you could travel around.
You could travel around, you could help people, you could talk with people, you could connect with them. You could the chain that connected everyone and brought back the hope in the world.
And you were exploring everything. And the first game did not have a map. You were exploring. You were legit exploring. It's something, I think that's what resonates so much with the fan base.
It's what kept people... It's not... I said to the previous episode that Final Fantasy 1, it's not a great game. It doesn't have a great story. It has the loop... The loop timeline thingy, yes, it's a weak story. But still, we're talking about it for 2 episodes now, and we still say
we don't have enough.
It has a great elements in it. Yes, the execution was poor. We had to work our fantasies.
It was of its time.
Well,
a product of its time.
Of course. We had to use our fantasies to complete the gaps between.
And we did have plenty of it.
Plenty. But it's what kept us. It was not like the graphics suck, the gameplay sucks, why I'm playing this. No, I'm playing this because I want to explore. I want to go find Marlith. I want to find Kraken. I want to see the Sky Fortress. I want to fight
or the last corner of the dungeon I didn't explore.
I want to fight with Bahamut. I want to go to the Tower of Trials. Why it's called Tower of Trials? And it keeps going with the next Final Fantasies. It hooks you on the world. I want to see why Cecil keeps fighting, fights so much. Because he's a child at that point.
The next games do have more of a story, and they do explore more in the characters. There is more character development. But in the first game, you are the warrior of light, as the game itself tells you.
True, but it hooks you.
And it
Were
hooks
you not hooked on
with
Final
everything.
Fantasy 2?
Of course, I was hooked.
At Final Fantasy 8, I was connecting with Squall. Strange. Squall is a very weird, emo, stupid child at the point that she becomes Sid.
Fun fact: in the Japanese version, they say, because I cannot read Japanese, of course, but I've seen people talk about it who translated everything that Squall says. In a Japanese context, he's just very afraid and he wants to be alone, and he tries to make it look cool because he's a teenager and he wants to look cool.
I was exactly like Squall at my age when I started playing Final Fantasy, because I actually played Final Fantasy 8 and understood it sometime afterwards.
And he's much more emotional in Japanese, as they say.
True. She's afraid of connections, as I was afraid of connections at my school.
Yeah, but he does open up to Rinoa, something that we don't see in the English translation much.
And every time if you start playing Final Fantasy 8 now, you will see that, you know what, Squall was afraid, but he became something more in the end. Vivi was frightened of death. She didn't know what the fuck death was, and as she was laying that, you know what, you will die at some point. You will start moving, and that point might be tomorrow, or might be in 5 to 10 to 50 years, and you will start moving. You're man-made, but you die, as we all do. It's those points that hooks you in Final Fantasy.
Yeah. That's indeed something. They do have one theme that you'll get hooked with, or several, or all of them. But yeah, one had it was the beginning of everything, and it really get me hooked with the possibilities of what I've said it before plenty of times in this podcast. It's only 2 episodes long, and I've already told you a number of times that how much stuff exists. There are so much stuff. There's so much stuff in the world, and you can just, because realistically, if you were living in that world, yeah, you wouldn't have a backstory. You would try to figure it out on your own. And that is what hooks me in Final Fantasy 1. You need to fill the gaps on your own because the world is in shambles. There is no history because no one records anything anymore. Because it is destroyed. The world is destroyed. It's very close to a reset. Again. And you must fill in the gaps from what you have in front of you. Yeah, you have a sunken city with mermaids. Figure it out what it was. You have a Rosetta Stone and a Lufinian ancient race. Figure it out. There is a war mech that might appear or not. Okay? Because I never encountered it in any port. I had to go out of my way. So I would have to go out of my way to actually encounter the war mech. Which makes me realize that it would be a very funny story if they would just say it and it's, if it was like a novel or a manga, that they would see it and it would be deactivated or something and they just did something that was wrong and they activated it. It fills the blanks.
As they pretty much did on the manga that we talk about.
Yeah.
And when they killed it, Bahamut took the last. So, that was not all we had to say, but I think we talked too much, perhaps, about Final Fantasy.
We can talk around it in circles and never stop because it did impact us so much.
It did impact the whole world so much.
True.
I mean... Okay, we got to stop to talk about Final Fantasy.
Yeah, we gotta stop. You who are listening, the lucky dude or dudette that is listening to this fabulous tea time with Bahamut. Please tell us your own story. We don't care if it's long. Just write it down.
About that, I was thinking about creating perhaps a Discord channel or something. Perhaps Discord channel, make a sub-channel on that about Final Fantasy 1. When we talk about Final Fantasy 2, make a sub-channel about Final Fantasy 2. And perhaps questions that people have for us, or personal, not too personal, but
that
personal about Final Fantasy or Final Fantasy. Things that they want for us to talk about.
That would be a fun way to connect with the rest of the community, at least the ones that are adjacent to our own countries at least.
Yes, and because we would like reviews, we want to have some reviews. If someone out there is listening to us, if you by any chance are listening to us right now and you think they talk somewhat good, they say the story is somewhat good, Evangelia, not so much me, leave a review for us and we will read it when we next see it. So yes, I was thinking about maybe a Discord channel so we can have some connection, because this whole podcast is about the connection with the community of Final Fantasy. We want to talk about other people's experiences, if they saw what we saw in Final Fantasy 1 or in the next Final Fantasies.
We feel so alone in this country that we live in, that we're playing Final Fantasy. We need to talk about it, so please.
We don't have. I was listening to another podcast, and they were talking about pre-release events about Final Fantasy games in what's the American store for games? Game Buster, which now they're closed, I think. They were talking about events in Vegas. That it was just for Final Fantasy 14, nothing else. Just Final Fantasy 14 event.
Yes.
I mean, we don't have anything like that here. It's 2024. They had those at 2010. I can't even imagine
it. Here, where we live in, if you're not playing sports games or hack and slash games, what are you doing with your life?
Something like that. So I will probably create a Discord channel that I will set up on the description. I still don't know on how many platforms the podcast will come out.
We'll figure it out.
Something like that. Next episode?
Final Fantasy 2.
Final Fantasy 2. We're only gonna talk about it like 3 or 4 2-hour episodes.
Probably. Most probably. It's Star Wars anyway, so yeah.
Star Wars. It was a big hit at that point.
Yeah.
So
That is
we're
true.
thinking the next time we will we will talk about Final Fantasy 2. I'm playing it right now and I hope that I will be able to finish it till we talk about it soon, so we can talk about it. And
Till next time.
Hold on, we still haven't talked about Retro Channel. Retro Gamers. Nikki, Evangelia right now plays.
Right now I'm playing my guilty pleasure, Shining Nikki. Oh, not Shining, Infinity Nikki. Because I had the guilty pleasure of playing Shining Nikki and Love Nikki before. A dress-up game.
I will
I'm
put
a girl.
the channel on the description. You can all go there and cash on Evangelia because she's not playing Final Fantasy and she's playing Infinity Nikki and stuff like that.
Yeah. Call me silent, call me a noob or something. I don't know.
Big noob. So go and tell her to play the next live stream of Final Fantasy because she stopped at 7.
Yeah. I have to play 5.
And if you have any questions, even personal at some boundaries,
Any type of question.
Any type of question, especially Final Fantasy question, give us a shout out, a question, so we can talk about it here. And what else do you want to hear in the podcast? I know some podcasts are about news, some podcasts do tactics, some podcasts do more stuff about gameplay or strategies or how the game works and graphics and stuff like that. Unfortunately, we're more about the story. But if you want to hear some more stuff about graphics or music or gameplay, tell us. So, till next time, have a nice tea time with Bahamut. I was Spiros, she was...
And I'm Evangelia.
And I hope you have a nice time like we do, because we're talking about Final Fantasy story like we always wanted to do. So, goodbye from us and let's see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.